I call your attention to the Gospel according to St. Luke. The Gospel according to St. Luke, the 15th chapter. Luke, the 15th chapter, and we're going to read verses 17 through verses 24. That's St. Luke, the 15th chapter, verses 17 through 24, and I'll be reading from the New King James Version. And we will find these words. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. And when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. I want to talk about fathers matter. Fathers matter is the subject that we're going to talk about today. Fathers matter. I heard the phrase years ago that I don't mind and you don't matter. But fathers, they matter. Fathers matter. Now, I am aware of the staggering statistics on fatherless homes and how it affects children, how it affects the community, schools, and the nation as a whole. I know a lot of our social and economic problems are linked to father absentee homes. And there's no doubt fatherless homes have reached a crisis level of which we cannot ignore. Ignoring the problem only causes it to get worse. The U.S. Department of Health points out that a lot of the social, emotional, economic, and criminal problems we are dealing with today is the direct result of fatherless homes. The statistics are the following. 63% of youth who commit suicide is from fatherless homes. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. 85% of all children who show behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes. 71% of all high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 75% of all adolescent patients in criminal abuse centers come from fatherless homes. 70% of youth in state-operated institutions come from fatherless homes. 85% of all youth in prison come from fatherless homes. Fatherless boys and girls are twice as likely to drop out of high school, twice as likely to end up in jail, 4 times more likely to need help for emotional problems. Now, there's no doubt about it that we have a crisis on our hands. And fathers who are in homes, fathers who are raising their children, fathers who are being responsible, fathers who are involved in the lives of their children, fathers who are coming to church, fathers who are serving the Lord, fathers who are working in the community, fathers who are doing their duty as a father's ought and living as the master taught, need to be loved, they need to be acknowledged, they need to be encouraged, and they need to be supported because fathers matter. Yes, I know some fathers are deadbeat, but they matter. I understand the negative feeling and bitterness towards some fathers, but they matter. Some fathers are irresponsible, but they matter. Some fathers are ill-equipped to be fathers, but they do matter. Some fathers are psychologically and spiritually wounded, but they matter. Some fathers are misinformed and misguided, but they matter. Many fathers need training and rehabilitation, but they matter. They matter because God made them. And anybody that God has made, they matter. I don't care what anybody says. Fathers matter. They matter because they are sons of God who have wandered off into the far country of idolatry and pleasure and irresponsibility. Jesus tells this parable to remind us that although many fathers are in the far country of idolatry and pleasure and irresponsibility, they still matter. All they have to do is come to themselves and get up from their hog pen situation and come back to their Heavenly Father. Our Heavenly Father's waiting for erring fathers to come back home because they matter. They may be wounded and sad, but they matter. They may be irresponsible, but they matter. They may be jobless, but they still matter. Our Heavenly Father is watching and waiting for fathers to come back home to God. And when fathers come back home to God, they will find that our Heavenly Father will throw a celebration party because they were once lost, but now they are found. They were once blind, but now they see. So you see, the answer to fatherless homes is to come back to our Heavenly Father. This is the answer to our social, emotional, criminal, and economic and national problems, is to come back home to our Heavenly Father. Our Heavenly Father is waiting to throw a celebration party. Or he knows we've been in the far country. He knows we've been irresponsible. But all we got to do is come up out of our hog pen situation and come back to our Heavenly Father. You might say, well, now I haven't been a good father. I've been irresponsible. I've been out there rendezvousing. I've been out there doing my own thing. But why should we come back home? We should come back home because home cannot be what it ought to be without Father's participation. The community cannot be what it ought to be without Father's participation. The church cannot be what it ought to be without Father's participation. The nation cannot be what it ought to be without Father's participation. And when fathers decide to come to themselves and get out of their hog pen of sin and come home to their Heavenly Father, they will experience forgiveness. They will experience healing. They will experience a celebration party because God knows these fathers, they do matter. Did y'all hear what I said? Yes, sir. Coming back home to our Heavenly Father is something that fathers must do for themselves. Yes, sir. No government program to do this for fathers. No Republican initiative can do this for fathers. No Democratic policy can do this for fathers. If the community is to be renewed and strengthened, fathers must must reach down within the inner depths of their own being and decide for themselves, I'm getting up out of this hog pen and I'm going back home to my Heavenly Father. There are some things that men and fathers must do for themselves. The government ought not to make a man take care of his children. That comes from within. No democratic policy ought to make a man take care of his family. That comes from within. And the reason why they're not doing it is because they're still in the far country of idolatry and pleasure and irresponsibility. But even with all of that, I want us to understand that fathers still matter.
Yes, sir.
Fathers matter, and when fathers return to their respective places, the community is stabilized.
Right.
The burden of women is lifted.
Yeah.
Children feel secure, and the community is renewed.
Right.
When fathers return to their respective places, high school dropouts are dramatically reduced. The prison population is minimized. Gangs are transformed into community builders. Crack houses will become community centers. And violent confrontations are changed into peaceful resolution. Fathers return to their respective places. Then we will see a hallelujah transformation taking place in our nation. Don't you ever underestimate the power and the relevancy of fathers in the home, fathers in the community, fathers in the church, fathers in the school, fathers in the village. Don't underestimate the power of fathers. Now when I think about my own father,
All right.
I think about a strong father.
Yeah.
I think about a determined father, a hard-working father, a disciplinarian par excellence. Now, there were 7 of us, and it was the strong, firm hand of my father that kept home together. When something in the community would provoke our anger, and we wanted to lash out with a maniacal rage, it was my father who stepped in. And he regulated behavior. It was my father who brought order out of chaos. It was my father who gave us guidance. My brothers and one sisters would not be where we are today had it not been for my father who took serious his role in the family and the community. I remember one Sunday morning, my brother wanted to keep that afro. You know, back in the 70s, they had afros. And my daddy thought that was a hat on your head. So he told my brothers, didn't I tell you to go get a haircut? And my brother shot back at him, I don't need no haircut. By the time my daddy had grabbed him in a headlock and told him to look up. And when he looked up, he said, what do you see? I don't see nothing but the ceiling. That's right, that's my ceiling. This is my house. And as long as you're in my house, you're going to do what I say because 2 kings can't stay in the same place. I'm telling you how our father raised us. He didn't just ask you to respect, he demanded that respect. I don't think y'all know what I'm talking about. My father. I don't know about your father. I can remember another incident, and then I'm going to bring this message on to a close. I've always liked to make people laugh. You know, comical. I was at school one day and everybody was laughing. The whole class was laughing. And all of a sudden they stopped laughing. And I just kept on trying to make them laugh some more. And everybody had stopped and everybody's eyes were looking at the door. And then I looked at the door. And guess who was standing there? It was my father. I didn't do that in school anymore. So don't underestimate the power and the relevancy of fathers in the home. And let me tell you something else. My father didn't raise any wimps.
That's right.
He raised boys into men and men into responsible fathers.
Yeah.
If we're going to renew the family, we're going to renew the community, we're going to renew the church and the nation as a whole, we need some strong, no-nonsense, respectable, loving, and dedicated fathers who take serious their role in the family and in the community. Fathers matter, and our Heavenly Father also matters. When I think about how they didn't push God out of the homes, we didn't push God out of marriages, we didn't push God out of schools, we didn't push Him out of society, we had pushed Him out of the nation, but still our Heavenly Father matters. It doesn't matter how well the Dow Jones Industrial Average is doing, our Heavenly Father still matters. It doesn't matter how the gross national product is doing, our Heavenly Father matters. He matters because all power is still in His hands. He matters because He moves in a mysterious way and His wonders to perform. He plants His footsteps in the sea and He rides upon the storm. He matters because He determines the number of the stars and stretches out the heavens. He speaks in the thunder and the heavens roar with rain. He matters because He sends the lightning and the rain. Our Heavenly Father still matters. When I'm in trouble, He comes to my rescue. When my life is in a zigzag, my Heavenly Father straightens it out in a straight line. When I'm hungry and I'm thirsty, my Heavenly Father satisfies me. When I'm sick, He is my doctor. He still matters. When I need a friend, He sticks closer than a brother. My Heavenly Father still matters. When I go astray, He searches for me until He finds me. And whenever He finds me, He brings me back to the fold. When my life is in the darkness, my Heavenly Father sheds light and He brings me back to the fold. Yes, His mercies are new every morning. Oh, great is Thy faithfulness. Great is Thy faithfulness. Our Heavenly Father matters. He got me up this morning. He started me on my way. My Heavenly Father matters. And I'm so glad that God still matters. If nobody else want to call His name, He still matters. If everybody else want to close their mouth, He still matters. Why does He matter? Because He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I am the Lord. And whatever I'm feeling on the inside, it gives me strength on the outside. My Heavenly Father still matters. I don't care who pushes Him out. He matters to me. When I get in trouble, I get down on my knees. I tell my Heavenly Father, give me strength. And give me patience. And help me to wait on You. And let me tell you something. If you've been talking to your Heavenly Father, He gonna come to your rescue. He may not come when you want Him to come, but He gonna be right there on time. And all you might say, I don't have an earthly father. But then God said, if your mother and your father forsake you, then I'll take you up. I'll be the best father you'll ever have. God still matters. Our Heavenly Father still matters. And all we got to do, Aaron fathers, get up at your home. Get up at your home. And come on back to your father. If you come back to your father, the church will be what it ought to be. If you come out of your hog pen, your home will be what it ought to be. If you come out of your hog pen, God will give you a celebration. Isn't that something? When I came back to my Heavenly Father, young man said, Lord, I didn't sin against You. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I wasted my substance in riotous living. It was wine, women, and song. But I ended up in a hog pen. But thank God I came to myself. And then I thought about the food. I thought about the service. I thought about all that my father had. And I'm sitting right here in a hog pen. Let me get my behind up. I may not have the right clothes, but I'm going back home. I may not smell the best, but I'm going back home. I may not have the money in my pocket, but I'm going back home. And the father was sitting there waiting for his son. And when he saw his son coming, oh, in the rain, condemning you. I'm going to celebrate with you that you came to yourself. You were once lost, but now you're found. You were blind, but now you see. All we got to do, come back home.
That's right.
Come on back home. God got a party for you. Oh, you ain't had a party until the Lord throw a party for you. And when God throws you a party, let me tell you what he put on the party. You got the spring water of eternal life that'll bubble on up into eternal life. Let me tell you what he got in the party. He got a little mercy out there. He got a little grace there. He got a little love there. He got forgiveness there. You ain't had a party until you come home to God. And then he said, kill the fattest cow. And they began to celebrate. Come back home. You didn't make mistakes. You didn't err. You didn't go on the street. But the Heavenly Father said, come on back. Come on back. I'm not going to condemn you. I'm just happy you're back home. Now women, when they come back home, don't look at them cockeyed like that. When they come back home, I know it's going to take a little time to trust them again. But if they come back home, get down on your knees. Tell the Lord, give me a heart like you got her, because he done me wrong. But if God brings him on back, come and celebrate with God. And he's back home. Thank God. When I was in the far country, and I decided to come on back home, it was a celebration party that God gave me. I'm saying all this because there may be some fathers who are still out there in the far country. You know what you have done. And you know what you're still doing. And some of you may be still angry with your father. And he may be dead and gone. But let me tell you this, release that anger. Release it. Because he's calling all of us out of the far country. Out of the far country of idolatry. Pleasure. We don't all been there. But thank God some of us have gained some sense. Some of us have come to ourselves and said, let's go on back home. Got to come back home because look at what's going on in our community. So fathers, God is calling you to come on back home. I'm not going to hold your past against you. But what I will do, I'll kill the fattest cow. I'll get you a robe. I'll put some shoes on your feet. I'll help you to become what you ought to be. But I can't do that until you make the first step. And when you make the first step, then I'll make the second step. And I tell you what, I ain't gonna wait till you get in the house. I'm gonna be waiting on the road for you. And when you get there on the road, I'm gonna put my arms around you. Because you matter to my kingdom. You matter to the community. You matter to the church. And if we understand that we do matter, no devil in hell can stop us. That's right. I know I matter in my home. My wife loves me. Not about what she says, but about what she does. I know my children love me. So I don't have to even go around and ask them, do I matter? I know I matter. I know I matter. They got a roof over their head. They got food on the table. Shoes on their feet. I know I matter. I know I matter. Because I know that God matters. In the fatherhood of God. In the earthly fathers, we matter. So build a little patience. And help the fathers to come on back. I know you're mad with some of them. There's a sin of a scripture. Telling you pray for me. Huh? And during the church is open my letter, Christian experience. Fathers, we matter. We matter before God. And we matter in this nation. And even though we may be weak, we may be misinformed, we may be caught up in some things we shouldn't be caught up in, but we still matter. You matter to God. You matter to his kingdom. And you matter to this nation. I know we've gone through a lot of things, but we matter. Sometimes we catch hell in society. Some of us catch hell at home, but you still matter. And if you just come on back home, Come on home to God. Come back to your first love. I promise you, God will take you and throw a party for you.
Yes, sir.
Strengthen you where you're weak and build you up where you're torn down. Because you matter.
Yeah.
Don't let the devil fool you.
That's right.
But you ain't no good. You ain't, I may not be, but I still matter. You matter before God. And you matter in the lives of your home, in the lives of your children, the lives of this nation. And when fathers decide to rise up, that's when the devil got to step back.
Yes, sir.
Say, finally got the word from Pastor Davis that I matter.
Yeah.
After we told him that I done made all those mistakes, but it still matters. I thank God for my earthly father.
Yes, sir.
And when my earthly father, when God calls him on, I still have a heavenly father.
Yes, sir.
Still got somebody I can call on. Still got somebody I can petition.
Yeah.
Still got somebody I can talk to. Still got somebody I can love. Still got somebody I can embrace. It's my heavenly father.
Yeah.
Can we see one today? Come by another Christian experience candidate for baptism. Come by watch care. The heavenly father just waiting on us. Nobody in here can say that they've been perfect. Nobody in here can say that they've never been in the far country. Nobody in here can say that they have lived a perfect life. Nobody. But what we all can do is come back to the Father.
Yes, sir.
And if we come back to Him, it won't be condemnation. It'll be a celebration. That's enough to make you want to come home. That's enough to make you want to just let me run to my Father. That's enough to want to say, you know what? I know I'm crazy, but this man, this Heavenly Father is on a celebration. He got something for me.